Hello and welcome to Destination Draft Day. I'm Michael Rochman. Nick Durst by my side. It's been a minute. We're back, but it's been a little bit. We apologize for that. We know you guys are probably, crying on every Monday and Friday that we didn't air, but we are back on the air for a little bit. We don't know how much longer this is going to go just because Landry football seems to be trending towards podcasts, so no more Twitch shows, but ultimately we're here right now. The draft is coming up less than a week away. Lots of rumors flying around, lots of speculation going on what will happen. But before we dive into any of it, Nick Durst, how you doing?
I'm glad to be back. It's been quite some time, and this is your time of year. Next week, 6 days away, the first night, you'll be locked in, ready to go for all 7 rounds.
Absolutely. I make it a little tradition. I get some wings ready. I watch the draft. I just feast away while just being in pure bliss. Most of my work's done for the year, so really exciting stuff. This year may have some different stuff. I have some YouTube plans with my channel that I've been starting. If you haven't checked it out, 2-Minute Drill on YouTube. Great channel. If I do say so myself, unbiased opinion. Really just quick analysis on a lot of NFL topics, mostly NFL draft and prospect based, but give it a look. And then, there's potential for other things, but I'll keep you posted if you check out my Twitter, MR_NFL draft. I should be having updates on what the plan is officially, but really excited for this year. NFL draft, really what we work for the entire year with this show. A lot of emphasis on NFL talk and NFL draft, and, the NFL draft part is finally being fulfilled this Thursday. Nick, what are your plans for the draft?
This year, I just feel like there's not as much buzz or excitement around the draft. I think it has to do with the 2 teams at the top, where maybe the 3 teams at the top, because the Jaguars, they're not going to pick a quarterback. The Texans, maybe they surprise you, pick a quarterback, but probably not. The Jets aren't picking a quarterback, so to me, it's not as really excited this year as usual. But I'll probably just be in this room checking out the first rounds and hoping that my Giants don't mess it up with their 2 picks.
Yeah, and I think that's one interesting part of this is that the quarterbacks, we don't know where they're going. There's been rumors about almost every quarterback possibly going to Carolina. Now there's rumors that Carolina is just going to trade back and trade for Jimmy or Baker. There is heavy speculation. So I think the overall hype going around, last year we heard about Trevor Lawrence to the Jags, Zach Wilson to the Jets, and that was set in stone since probably March of the draft. And I think that allowed people to kind of hype these players up and really buy into it. Whereas a lot of these teams, they can't really buy into this quarterback prospect yet because we have no idea where they're going to end up falling on draft day.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you're the Browns, I think you're going to have to just release Baker Mayfield for the draft, because I don't think anyone's going to trade for him, because they know you want to get rid of him. So why would you trade for him? They're not, why trade for them? Because they're going to have to release him. Garoppolo, it's looking like he's going to be back, and he's going to end up being Trey Lance's backup. I don't know how that's going to work out too well.
Yeah, it seems to be like there's going to just not really be a ton of clarity with this quarterback position still. There's talks that Pittsburgh's just ready to offer Baker Mayfield the second he gets cut, but Cleveland obviously doesn't want to trade him inside the division. Carolina was rumored to potentially be in on Baker Mayfield, but Robbie Anderson took to Instagram to talk about how he doesn't want that to happen. So maybe it'd be a Robbie Anderson for Baker Mayfield swap or something. There's been talks about Seattle. There's been talks on a few different teams, but ultimately there isn't really a just open landing spot that's just obvious yet. And, some of these teams are going to address the quarterback spot via the draft. Pittsburgh has Mitch Trubisky. So, they're fine with their at least bridge quarterback, and he could potentially be a starter long-term. Who knows? But, the premise of his start for Pittsburgh seems like he's going to be starter for a year while they have some rookie kind of get ready behind him. There's other guys in this class that I think will surprise a little bit. I think Sam Howell could be a starter pretty early in his career. Obviously, a lot of people like Kenny Pickett. Desmond Ridder seems to be trending up boards to where he could be the first quarterback drafted come draft day. So there is plenty of just different timelines. And, there's no clarity on which one we're going to follow.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how Trey Lance does at quarterback this season, if Jimmy Garoppolo is there and Deebo Samuel is not. Deebo Samuel just wants to be out of there. I guess he's just, I don't know if he's butting heads, or he says, I don't even want to negotiate a new contract. I just want to be traded.
Yeah, it sounds like money isn't even an issue. Like, it sounds like maybe San Francisco wasn't necessarily offering this biggest contract for any wide receiver, but they were willing to negotiate, and Deebo just said, I don't think so. Maybe it's Mike McDaniel was really kind of the glue that held San Francisco together. Maybe Kyle Shanahan, who has had a history of kind of not necessarily beefing with his players, but there's been times where he kind of is sort of stubborn in his ways. And, you know, guys like Brandon Ayuk or Trey Sermon maybe aren't seeing the field when a lot of people expected them to. So maybe, you know, there's just not a lot of love there in that regard. Maybe there's certain other aspects, but seems Deebo wants out. Seems Deebo has been speculated to just want to be a receiver and not be a wide receiver running back type deal. I don't know. You know, it's a lot of sources, more so than just direct word of mouth. But it does seem like Deebo wants out of San Francisco. Sounds like he isn't even concerned about what they'd offer. He just wants a new place. New York Jets obviously going to be rumored to be a team that will
Jets
be on him.
always rumored on the star wide receiver, especially after not getting Tyreek Hill. But
yeah,
would you give up like a first round pick in the top 9 for Deebo Samuel? I don't know. I mean, maybe, you know, I'm sure you probably think that the wide receiver is, you know, available now, London or Lave from Ohio State. You know, maybe they better off just drafting one of those guys with that second first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you have to really consider the value of, because the wide receiver market is exploding, and trading for Deebo alone, yeah, I mean, that's fine. He's worth the first round pick probably. But when you're trading for Deebo, then having to make him the highest paid receiver in the NFL, that can limit the overall structure of your team, especially in the future. And I think that's where the hard part comes in. So if I'm a team like the New York Jets, where, yeah, maybe I have some money to spend in a young roster where it's easy to kind of handle that money, it'd probably be easier if you go and grab like a Jameson Williams at number 10 and just let him work on his rookie contract. And he's probably going to be, I think he's going to be very talented. I mean, maybe he won't be up to the Deebo level, but I mean, if you're saving $20 million in that process, then I think the team performance overall is going to be a lot better.
Yeah. The Jets, I mean, this is really a crucial draft for them. You know, if they're going to make a leap right now, they're certainly the worst team in their division. And I saw enough from Zach Wilson last year to think that he could be a franchise quarterback. But now it's like you got to surround him with something. And is Becton going to be back? He missed basically the whole season. That's a huge piece right there for Zach Wilson. Yeah,
the offensive line has seemingly been put in place by the Jets, but at the same time, you know, there's injury concerns for Becton. There's question marks about the longevity of George Fant in New York. There's questions on the inside with just durability. So you're really kind of questioning, what do the Jets do with offensive line in this draft? You assume, you know, probably day 3 depth, guys that have potential, but maybe wouldn't start right away. But at the same time, you're going to want guys that are able to step up and play if the offensive line continues to get injured, or if guys like George Fant are gone after the year. And that really leaves a question for the Jets, a team that's trying to rebuild and really kind of fix up the rest of their roster. The offensive line has investments in it, but can you really afford to go with a solid starting 5 with questions about the depth of it when, you know, last year we just saw it get just destroyed with injuries? Yeah.
And they need to get a receiver. So whether they're drafting somebody or making that trade, they got to get somebody there. But I think Williams is going to be, you know, a key there. He showed a lot at the running back position. So I think he's going to continue to be successful there. Now, E-Rappaport is reporting that the Jaguars are between 4 players for the first pick. To me, I think at this point they should know who they're picking first. So my thought process there, Michael, is they are just trying to draw up some trade conversations and see if anybody wants to call them, because being 6 days away from the draft, I find it hard to believe you're between 4 players.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's really more 3 that have been speculated on. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's the favorite. Apparently, Balky likes Trayvon Walker. Apparently, Doug Peterson likes Ike Maguanu. So I assume the 4th is just being Kayvon Thibodeau. If other teams view him as their top edge rusher, they want to kind of include him in that to where teams are willing to trade up. But seems to be, if they are to pick, it's going to be between those first 3. I don't think it's going to be Aquanu just because you have Walker Little, you have Cam Robinson at your offensive tackle spots. You're kind of set there. So you go to a position of need, and that's edge rusher. And really, it's between Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson. I assume it's going to be Hutchinson. He's kind of been the consensus number one pick for a while now, but Trayvon Walker has a strong case to be made. He's extremely versatile. He's got a great frame, a guy that can rotate all over the defensive line. Yes, he needs some production as a pass rusher. I think he needs some development in that regard, but there is tons that is seen in his game. If you can really make him take those next steps as a pass rusher, then he's a 3-level edge rusher that can really do it all and could potentially be a superstar in the NFL.
Yeah, I think the safest thing for him to do is just to pick the safe bet. That's go with Hutchinson, because he'll come in right away. I think he'll dominate in that division. Maybe not against the Colts, who have a great offensive line, but that's a safe bet, I think, when you're looking at this team. And ETN's coming back, so you don't need to really. I don't really worry as much about the offense. I think he's actually going to have a huge role this upcoming season. From there, you could probably get another offensive lineman. Like you mentioned, they have a pretty solid line with the big stars, so you can get another guy. Late day 2, early day 3, and it's still be in good shape there. So I think defense is certainly their need, and Hutchinson's the safest bet out of those 3, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even with ETN, you're probably going to want to see them draft a running back. And they have needs on the offensive line, but they're more interior guys. So they have their picks that are definitely going to be needs for day 2, day 3. But I think overall, when you're looking at the draft board that's given to you and the needs that exist on your team, edge is probably the direction to go with the first pick.
Yeah. Now, your original mock, you had Thibodeau going first. Why do you think he's sliding a bit here? And you'll get your full mock on Monday, but where do you ultimately see the slide stopping? At what number in the draft would you be shocked if he went past that?
Yeah, so for Thibodeau himself, I don't know if it's necessarily that he was just this highly touted number 1 and he's just in free fall. I think maybe the NFL just likes the pass rushing and quickness upside that Aiden Hutchinson has. He's got tremendous hands. He's one of those guys that you're almost certain that he's going to be like an 8 sack per year type guy, probably get up into that 14, 15 range. So for NFL teams, that's really what does it on the edge. You can kind of teach the run defense. You can kind of teach just overall the development of his game, but he offers so much upside as a pass rusher that he could be one of the top sack leaders in the league whenever he's playing at his best. So for a guy like Thibodeau, for a while, I thought that he was probably going to be falling to that number 4 pick for the Jets, but it sounds like he's going to be going number 2 to Detroit. It seems like they are kind of okay with who he is as a person. They don't view it as a character concern. They don't think he's someone that's not going to be invested in football. They have his teammate Penei Sewell, so he probably can vouch for him as a guy this is someone that you need to get on the team, talent-wise, leadership-wise, player-wise. He brings it all to the table. So assuming Sewell is advocating for him, I assume the talent's going to be there to where Detroit is likely going to be Thibodeau number 2. But as far as the furthest he could fall, really, I think that around that 8 spot to Atlanta is where I think it would have to end, because let's say Hutchinson goes 1, Trayvon Walker goes 2, and then the concerns about Thibodeau are legit, right? So then the Jets go Jermaine Johnson number 4. Then I think Atlanta, you're a team that you just absolutely need pass rushing production. A guy like Thibodeau, maybe you're not 100% certain on the guy he is off the field. I think that he's fine. I think a lot of the concerns about his, entrepreneurship or passions outside of football are completely overblown. I think he's still a great football player, and he's proven it week in, week out for Oregon. But let's say that the NFL has this insider information. They're concerned about him. Atlanta seems like a team where you're just so desperate for talent on your roster. You're so desperate for pass rushing production that you need a guy like Thibodeau on your team. He would immediately step in and be the top edge rusher on the team. You had a guy in Steven Means last year starting who recorded 0 sacks despite starting, I think, 13 games over the course of the season. That's abysmal for your edge rushing unit. And getting a guy like Thibodeau would be tremendous for the defense and tremendous for the long-term production of their pass rushing and just overall edge play.
Yeah, I think that absolutely makes sense. If the Giants have Thibodeau on the board when they pick, like they need to take him. I think they need to get a defensive rusher in here, because it'd be great to get the offensive lineman, but the line's not great, but at least you got like Thomas there, so you have that left tackle in place already. But you don't have anybody coming off the edge on the defensive side of the ball for the Giants.
Yeah, I think the Giants are definitely an interesting case because right now it seems to be rumored that they're probably going to be going like offensive tackle at 5 and then best player available at 7. For some people, they believe that's going to be like an Ahmad Gardner. For some people, they believe that could be like an edge rusher, maybe, Trayvon Walker, maybe Kayvon Thibodeau, maybe someone else, who knows. But really, there's plenty of options for the Giants to go, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they assess their own roster because, like you said, yes, offensive line's a need, but they did do a solid job of adding some pieces to the offensive line. Mark Lewinsky, John Feliciano really helps kind of patch up the overall performance compared to what was expected heading into this offseason. So, they've done a really nice job. GM Joe Shane has done tremendous, and I think so far, for the Giants, with how limited they were in terms of resources and assets heading into this offseason, they've done a great job of really kind of fixing up their roster.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they're still going to probably trade Bradbury or Gurley Sims. So I think they're going to be a pretty bad team next year, just based on what I'm looking at this point.
Yeah, I still expect them to kind of be mid, but I think in terms of just where they were and how little assets and resources they had, they did a nice job getting some pieces like Seals, Jones, and Akins at tight end. I think is serviceable enough to where you're like, okay, at least that position is somewhat like filled now to where you don't need to draft a tight end. They've gotten some solid offensive linemen. Like I'm just saying, for how limited their pathways were, I think they did a decent job.
I feel a lot better if they had signed Trubisky or Mariota because I know Daniel Jones is going to get hurt.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
But speaking of quarterbacks, Kyler Murray staying put. No surprise there. We knew that. And really, Michael, the Cardinals here, like if they can pull it together here, if they could stay healthy, hit on these draft picks, they have a great shot to be top 3 team in the NFC. We both said when Brady came back, the Bucs should be the favorites. I'll take that. I'll put that back a little bit because I don't really trust Todd Bowles as the head coach. Better him than Byron Leftwich, but I don't really know about that. The Rams are definitely the best team right now, but very hard to repeat. So, the Packers, they got Rodgers, but who is he throwing to? I guess they're going to draft the wide receiver, right? Because you got rid of Adams. So for me, the other team there that could take advantage of this is certainly going to be the Cardinals, especially if Deebo Samuel's gone from the 49ers and you're going to Trey Lance. The Cardinals are going to be a playoff team. So we'll see just how far they can get it and they can go. Just some bad injury luck at the end of last season.
Yeah, and, the NFC is wide open, like you said. Easily Bucs team that seems poised to make another run could have some injuries that kind of derail their run again. Rams have certainly lost a lot of pieces on the offensive line to where, yes, they are still very talented. They added some superstar talent, but they lost some pieces in the process that could certainly hinder this team, especially for how top-heavy it is. One bad injury, and they are absolutely screwed. Green Bay, like you said, they have their issues in terms of who is really surrounding Aaron Rodgers. And then San Francisco, question marks about if Deebo is going to be there, how the offense is going to function. So for Arizona, keeping Kyler Murray is huge. You need to hit on this draft. I think there is an opportunity for you to become a contender, especially now while you're trying to capitalize on Kyler Murray's contract. You need to hit on this draft, get some rookie contributors, fill out the rest of this roster, and see what you can do.
Yeah, and the Bucs, I gotta say, is Gronk coming back? That's actually a huge thing. Like, if he's not coming back, that makes a major difference. And are they gonna sign Edelman? Is Edelman coming out of retirement? I'm surprised we didn't really hear anything either way. But you have to assume that by the first week in May, we're gonna know after the draft.
Yeah, and it's really kind of concerning at this point. I thought it was just okay. Brady's back, Gronk will be back, but Gronk doesn't seem set on it. He's kind of indicated he doesn't know yet. I don't know if, it was some last season where he kind of lost some of the passion again, or if he just, is still trying to be someone that retires relatively young so he's not just completely, like, in a wheelchair or something whenever he's older or something. So,
yeah. I mean,
The decision
that rib and lung injury was crazy last year. So
absolutely.
Maybe he got a scare from that.
Yeah, so the Buccaneers are definitely going to need clarity. I think maybe even if we don't know, they should know by draft day so that they can assess, if they want to go out and grab someone like a Trey McBride or Greg Dulcich in this draft, because they absolutely have a need at tight end if Gronkowski's not returning next season.
Yeah, totally agree. It's definitely going to be a big thing. And we'll see what happens.
And how are you doing on time? Do you have some more, or do you need to dip out of here?
2 more minutes here, Mike.
2 more minutes? Okay.
On,
so I want to talk to you about the DK Metcalf and AJ Brown saga. Do you think anything comes of either of those guys? Do you think the extension will happen? Do you think they might be finding new teams? There's a lot of speculation there, but these are big impact players that would be tough to depart from if you're either team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Metcalf would be more likely to be traded. So if they want to just kind of go total, but it's just so bizarre because Pete Carroll's the coach still, so he's not, going to be at 70 looking to rebuild. So I don't know. I guess I got to see, maybe if they get Mayfield or something, then maybe they'll stick with him. But Metcalf was didn't want to be traded. AJ Brown, I don't see why they would trade him just because. They need him to win that division because I think the Colts are going to be really good this year, Matt Ryan. So, I don't think either is going to move. But I would say that Metcalf will be more likely to move. We'll see. Maybe do the Packers take their assets that they got from Adams and try to get one of those guys? Perhaps. But, I don't know what the Seahawks are doing because it looks like they're in rebuild mode, but they have a really veteran coach. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, before I let you go, I want to get your prediction. First quarterback, first pick. Let's hear them both. Who do you think is going to be the first pick of the draft come draft day? And any major trades you think are going to happen?
Well, I think the first pick is going to be Hutchinson, and I think that the first quarterback is going to be, I really want to say Kenny Pickett, but I feel like if the Panthers, maybe they want to pick Howell because he's the North Carolina guy. So I'll say it's between two of them, but I'll lean towards Pickett at this point, going to the Panthers as the first quarterback taken. And I think that if there's going to be a trade, I think it's either going to be somebody's going to trade up with the Lions to get there to take one of the edge rushers or one of the offensive linemen. That might even be as simple as the Falcons trading up a little bit to there. But I think the Jets will probably trade one of their picks, and I think that's probably the major move there, in my opinion. But to be seen. I could always change my mind on Monday. We have the full first round mock, but what do you think about those predictions right there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Pickett is very likely to be the pick for Carolina. He committed to Matt Rule when they were at Temple, and you know how much Matt Rule loves his guys. Right. I think the connection's there. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it would be the wrong selection, but I think it's certainly on the table for Carolina to select Kenny Pickett. I think Hutchinson's number one pick. Major trade, I mean, I think Debo gets traded, but in terms of the draft itself, I would probably say I think Seattle at number 9 is likely to trade back. They just commonly kind of do that, and I think they're going to make a crazy pick with wherever they trade back to. Let's say they swap with Pittsburgh. I think at number 20 they're going to go with someone like Cameron Jurgens or Cole Strange, who a lot of people aren't expecting to be first-round picks. I think they're going to shock some people.
Really looking forward to it. It's going to be interesting. And Michael, make sure you're ready on Monday because I'm going to ask you who's going to be the impact kicker in this draft, because we saw how good McPherson was last year in the playoffs. I mean, he was tremendous. So looking forward to it. But all right, everyone's in good hands now, and Michael will take it from here, being the expert that he is.
All right, let's dive into the positional rankings. And at quarterback, I got to go with Malik Willis as my number one. Just upside galore, great arm, great mobility. I think you look at, when you watch a Lamar Jackson game, that mobility is so hard to game plan for because, you have to kind of keep people on the outside, even outside where the corners are. And corners are usually in coverage. So with a guy like Malik Willis, who has the outstanding arm strength, I don't think he's the same scrambler of Lamar Jackson, but I do think that he has that mobility to where he can get the offense on the outside, open up the playbook entirely, keep the defense just almost with headaches trying to defend him. And in turn, you're going to see an absolute just dominant showcase from Malik Willis. I think the traits are all there to where when you get him on your team, assuming that you can just develop him, open up the offense for him, I think he's going to be an absolute stud. At number 2, I got Sam Howell, the quarterback out of North Carolina. I think he's someone that is a bit underrated. I think he's probably the safest quarterback in this class. If I were a team that, I'm a contender like Washington or Pittsburgh, and I just need a QB who's going to come in, be a safe bet to be good and really capitalize on the team that I've built, then I go with a guy like Howell because I think he really has everything you could ask for in a quarterback. I think regardless of where he lands, I think he's going to be a pretty promising quarterback prospect. I know the year wasn't outstanding for him with the North Carolina Tar Heels, but he showed a lot in terms of progression and traits, so I'm still very much in on him. Number 3, I got Matt Corral. Number 4, I got Desmond Ridder. And number 5, I got Carson Strong. Corral, RPO, mastermind, just someone that I think has a lot of talent. Great runner. I think it's a little bit underrated in his game, but he's a fantastic scrambler. Kind of reminds me of Jalen Hurts. I think he has a little bit better arm. I think there's more potential there, but ultimately definitely some room for error that needs to be fixed up. Desmond Ridder, accuracy issues, but has the upside, has the traits, has the off-field stuff that anyone would want. Off the field, there's no one, I think, better in this quarterback class from what I've heard than Desmond Ridder. Sat in on coaches' meetings, sat in on every player's meeting early. He just did it all. Just a guy that is so easy to buy into in terms of development. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at this list 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and Desmond Ridder is easily number 1. And number 5, I got Carson Strong. Immobile as he may be, I think he has a very talented arm. He's got some nice downfield accuracy. Doesn't have a ton of velocity on his downfield throws, but he puts a nice touch on it to where he's able to really capitalize on it and make some great plays. So that's why I think at number 5, in a nice spot, Indianapolis would be perfect for him. I think he could really thrive. At the running back spot, I got Breece Hall at number 1, Kenneth Walker at number 2, Pierre Strong Jr. at number 3, and Isaiah Spiller at number 4, with James Cook rounding out the list at number 5. Sorry, I got some hiccups here. Breece Hall, I think, just does it all in terms of just being able to block, run, receive. He's an all-around back and probably one of the safest guys in this class. I compared him to DeMarco Murray out of Dallas Cowboys when he was an absolute stud. I think Breece Hall is going to be an impact player. You let him get into the second round and you are just getting free money in terms of his production. I think he's a guy that can do it all in the running back spot, and I would love to see where he lands because I think he's going to be an instant impact back and someone that could very easily be one of the best running backs in the league almost immediately in the NFL. At number 2, I got Kenneth Walker, and if I had to pick a landing spot for him, I would say 49 to New Orleans would be absolutely perfect. I know running back maybe isn't as big a need for the Saints, but getting him and Alvin Kamara working together, kind of replacing what was Mark Ingram in that running back rotation, would be absolutely huge. That duo back in the day was just tremendous. Kenneth Walker, maybe not the best receiver. I think he can develop into something, but you put him with Alvin Kamara, he doesn't even have to. That run game is going to carry the load and just put this team together. Saints have a good enough roster that if you can get a guy like Kenneth Walker there at that second running back spot, working as your kind of interior runner while Kamara gets to work in space, that Saints offense is going to flourish. At number 3, I got Pierre Strong, great speed. Spiller, a guy that I think has nice vision. Kind of disappointed with his running times, but still just a very talented back. And James Cook, he's a guy that works in open space. He's going to make some big plays. I want to see him land with the Jets. Would be absolutely dominant next to Michael Carter. With the wide receiver position, I got Garrett Wilson as my top wide receiver with Jameson Williams very close behind. Wilson is someone that I think just does it all, kind of like a Calvin Ridley, where maybe he doesn't necessarily stand out with one trait, but he's going to make some flashy, dominant plays, put up some consistent production, and be a star in the league. I think, if you're a team like Atlanta at number 8, if you don't have the edge rushers on the board, I think Wilson would be a nice consolation prize because you're getting a very talented wide receiver on a team that just doesn't have wide receivers right now. Number 2, Jameson Williams, tremendous speed. I think he's perfect for that San Francisco Jets kind of offense where you can let him operate in open space. You can let him really get the ball in his hands and just see what he does. He can take the top off of the defense. He's going to be someone that I think, regardless of where he lands, he's going to be a stud. He does it all for an offense. He just absolutely broke out with Alabama, and now I'm so excited for him. I can't wait to see what he does at the next level. I think he could be a top-end wide receiver once he's in his prime. Number 3, I got Treylon Burks, just great yards after catch, physical receiver, guy that I really like. Number 4, I got Johan Dotson, probably one of the best slot receivers in this class. I think he just does it all in that slot. He's smooth. He has great hands. He's able to make great catches. He's someone that's just an absolute stud. And Penn State did him no favors with the quarterback play, but he was still able to just make some dominant plays, get him in an offense that really kind of works to his skill set, or maybe not even to his skill set, but just has a better passing offense as a whole, and he's going to produce. And number 5, I got Drake London. I'm a little bit lower on him than others, but I think he's still pretty good. A little bit too much reliance on jump ball that I think he needs to fix up in his game, kind of develop further. But right now, still a very big stud, was able to be dependent on at USC, and he was able to capitalize on it. Tight end class, a little bit disappointing this year. I thought it was going to be really good. Ended up kind of just leveling out to mediocre, probably below average. At tight end 1, I got Greg Dulcich, tight end out of UCLA. I think this is going to be the best tight end in this class. Great starting receiver, receiving tight end. Big playability, nice size, nice speed. I think he's someone that, you can kind of compare to a Dawson Knox, where maybe there's some development needed, but I think in time he's going to be a dependable starting tight end. And number 2, I got Trey McBride out of Colorado State. Probably the consensus top tight end in this class, but still someone that I think has plenty of upside, pretty well-rounded. I think he's a solid blocker, despite it being maybe not how much he was used at Colorado State. He's a good receiver, though, tremendous in open field, and I think that's why at the next level he could potentially be a guy that really kind of contributes in the offense and maybe a steal in this class. At number 3, I really like Cade Otten, well-rounded, tremendous blocker. Washington's offense as a whole was just abysmal. So Cade Otten, would get like 18 catches, and it'd be a good year for Washington standards. But I think in terms of draft standards, it kind of caused him to get a little underlooked. He's a good defender or a blocker. He's a great receiver. I think he's someone that at the next level is going to shine a lot more than he ever did in college because the offense will open up, the opportunities will be there, and he's going to make the most of it. At number 4, Chigozie Okonkwo, the tight end out of Maryland. Great speed, great size. I think he moves extremely well. There's some questions about his run blocking, but I think he offers plenty. As a receiver, I think he really worked well with Dante Demas, Raheem Jarrett, Jashawn Jones, everyone in that offense. He was able to still stand out and make some nice plays when depended on. I think you get him in an open field type situation. Maybe a team like Arizona where you already have Zach Ertz there, but you can get him there as a backup and develop into something. I think he'd be great. And then number 5, Charlie Kolar, probably one of the safer tight ends in this class. Nice size, nice frame, dependable for Iowa State. Great testing. I was really surprised with his testing. Really great showing from him, and now he's probably going to be day 2, day 3 type tight end that may be able to contribute. I think he's the guy that, he's a safe bet to at least be a tight end 2, but he has the athletic upside to potentially be a tight end 1 and steal in this class. At the offensive tackle spot, Evan Neal's my top prospect in this class. Tremendous size, tremendous frame, moves extremely well, has tremendous balance and upper body strength. He does it all for this team, and I think he's an absolute stud because of it. At tight end or at offensive tackle number 2, I got Ike Maguanu, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. A tremendous run blocker, great physicality, moves tenaciously. I think he's someone that's just an absolute beast on the offensive line. Whether you put him on guard or tackle, right tackle, left tackle, whatever you want to do, I think he can really do it all for North Carolina State. And at the next level, I think he's going to continue to thrive. He's definitely a little bit smaller maybe for your offensive tackles, but he's still going to be a guy that I think makes it work. And, he's being talked about as a top 10 pick for a reason. I think he absolutely is warranted for it and could be a very nice addition to any offensive line. At number 3, Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. I'm buying in. Usually I care a lot about run blocking and just well-roundedness. Charles Cross, I kind of see the vision. I think he has potential to become that as a run blocker. Still needs the experience, still needs developed in terms of just getting his game regulated. But right now, he's a tremendous blocker, great frame, great movement skills. Get him developed in the run game, and you have potentially a top tackle on your hands. At number 4, Daniel Falele, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota. Look, feels like every year we do this, where we have these big guys that just get underrated. Falele moves extremely well for his frame and is going to be an absolute stud at offensive tackle, assuming he lands in the right spot. A team like Baltimore, a team like New England. If he can land somewhere like that, I think he's going to be a great selection for them and is going to be a great tackle in the NFL. And then offensive tackle number 5, Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa, a guy that, just a mean streak in his play, needs to get disciplined, needs to refine his game, work on actually playing clean. But the strength is there, the tenacity is there. He has the physicality and strength to win. It's just about, cleaning up his game. And I think that's something that a lot of NFL teams have successfully done with projects like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if Penning sneaks into, maybe like the top 10 of the NFL draft. On the interior offensive line, I got Tyler Linderbaum at center, Zion Johnson next as the guard, Kenyon Green guard, and then Cameron Jurgens and Sean Ryan to round it out. Jurgens a center, Sean Ryan a guard, or potentially tackle, who knows. But, Tyler Linderbaum, I feel like, has just kind of consistently been a great player throughout his entire career. He was talked about as a potential first-rounder last year. Now kind of enters into the league as one of the safer bets on the offensive line. I think he does it all. He moves extremely well. He has nice power for being a smaller guy. I think the question is, he is a smaller guy on the offensive line. So what can you do to kind of fix that up? Can you add some weight? Does he need to add weight? I don't think so. I think he's a Ryan Khalil type, and that's my comparison for him. Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green can almost be a coin flip. Both guys are absolute studs at the guard position. I think Zion Johnson, he's been rumored to be like in that 25 type range for the pick. I think he goes higher. I think this is someone that we could very easily see as like a top 16 selection. I look at a team like the Los Angeles Chargers. If they stay at 17, I think that's very possible that he would be their pick because, you assume the tackles are probably off the board in terms of Neal, Maguanu, Cross, and Penning. So now you're kind of looking at, do I want a guy on the offensive line? Right guard's still a very big need. I think Zion Johnson's a great fit for their offense. I think he'd be a tremendous addition to the offensive line. So don't be shocked if, Zion Johnson goes a little bit higher than people are expecting. Green, great power, great strength. I think he does a tremendous job in a power blocking scheme. My prediction for the Patriots pick at number 21, I think he's going to be a stud at the next level and someone that probably quietly has a very good career. Cameron Jurgens, underrated, but I think this is someone that could also be a first-round pick. I think Cincinnati makes a lot of sense. A lot of centers don't really get the recognition of their draft stock until very close to draft day. So on draft day, I remember Frank Ragnow was thought of as this like second, third-round pick, and then he just flew up the board and was like, oh, he's now a first-rounder. And everyone was like, holy shit. And then he went to Detroit. So definitely a potential of Cameron Jurgens going in the first round. Don't sleep on it. I think it's very much possible. And then at number 5, Sean Ryan, great athlete, probably a tackle in college. He was a tackle in college, but probably going to move from tackle because the length isn't there, but still tremendous athlete, great mover, great physicality. I think he's going to be a good guard in the NFL, and I think he'd be a nice, promising piece for whatever team grabs him in that second, third round range. Now we move to the defensive side of things. Jordan Davis is my top defensive lineman. Devonta Wyatt following him. George Karlaftis, DeMarvin Leal, and Cameron Thomas is the next 3. This is a fun defensive line class, but I think the issue you can kind of notice is Jordan Davis is probably the only nose tackle that's going to be highly touted in this class. There are certain other guys that could potentially be contributors on the nose tackle position, but you're running kind of thin. Devonta Wyatt's a nice 3 tech, but then after that, it's like George Karlaftis is like a 5 tech. Leal, 5 tech. Cameron Thomas can play 3 tech, but probably 5 tech mostly. There's questions about it, and I think they're certainly reasonable. There's some guys in this class that I do like. I'm not saying that it's just a bad 3 tech class altogether, but in terms of just overall value for the position, probably after Devontae Wyatt. I would think the next guy that I have on my list, and I'm running off the top of my head, probably Matthew Butler out of Tennessee, who's very good. Like, I like Matthew Butler, but he hasn't gotten the recognition. So this 3-tech class is going to be very interesting. Perion Winfrey, another guy that a lot of people like, so he could be that. But, the 3-tech class as a whole, some question marks surrounding the position. On the edge, probably one of the more interesting storylines to follow. I go with Thibodeau as my number one guy. I think he's an absolute stud. Trayvon Walker is my number 2. I think the potential is there for him to be a superstar. Aiden Hutchinson, 3. Tremendous hands, great speed off the edge. I don't dislike anyone in this edge class for the top 5. I think all of them are very good. So while Aiden Hutchinson is a little bit lower for me at the number 3 edge spot, I still am a big fan of his game. At number 4, I got David Ajabo. Injury aside, I think he's going to be very good. He comes back eventually, and I think he contributes. I'm not going to worry too much about his injury because, with these rookies, you're kind of looking for the guy that's going to be good 4 years down the road, more so than the guy that's just going to contribute most as a rookie. So with a guy like Ajabo, I would still probably take him first round, assuming the value's there, assuming the need's there, and assuming I'm a team that can kind of live with that. If you're feeling like he can come back in the season, then maybe a team like Kansas City where you've kind of made it known that you care most about postseason, getting a guy like Ajabo to come back in the postseason or those last 4 weeks would be absolutely huge for the team. At linebacker, Troy Anderson is my number 1. I think he's raw, but I think there's plenty of potential there. He can do it all. I think the development is what's crucial, though. Can he find a spot where he can kind of grow into his game? He's got the athletic upside. He's got the frame. He's got the instincts, but he just needs to be a little bit more natural in his movements, be a little bit more developed as a linebacker as a whole. And, with that, I think he would be a superstar. But the potential's there. It's just, will he grow into that? At number 2, I got Devin Lloyd, probably the most pro-ready linebacker in this class. He does it all for Utah, and now he goes to the NFL. I think he's someone that, you see his tackling ability, you see his range. He can cover as needed. Wasn't the most fast 40 time. He ran in the 4.6, 4.7 range, but still someone that I think, moves pretty well in terms of range and covering ground. So I assume he'll be all right at the next level. At number 3, I got Quay Walker, and he's followed by Nakobe Dean, his teammate. So those are 2 guys that they're very good. I definitely have a little bit of a Patriots bias to me. I like guys that are, over 235. I like the bigger linebackers. And Nakobe Dean still making this list, despite being small, I think speaks to his ability. He plays like a heat-seeking missile. He can fly all over the field. Quay Walker, he's a great athlete, but I think he's more of a safe linebacker than he is this high upside guy like a lot of people are touting. I think he plays pretty well. He's a tremendous run stuffer. I think he can cover ground. I don't see the potential in his game. I think that when you draft him, he's going to probably start day 1, probably contribute. And that's not to say he won't grow, but I don't think he's someone that you're drafting and he's going to become a superstar if you play it right. I think it's more you draft him and you're going to have a reliable linebacker. Jermaine Pratt was my comparison. I think that's a very similar type player where, he came in and he was a dependable run stuffer, nice coverage ability. He didn't necessarily blossom into this premier linebacker in the league, but he's been a very promising, solid, dependable player for the Bengals. And I think Quay Walker will kind of follow a similar career path. At linebacker 5, I got Leo Chanal, linebacker out of Wisconsin. Tremendous athlete, tremendous frame. Wisconsin, one of the best defenses in college football last year and the year before. Leo Chanal played a big part in that, and I think he's going to continue to have success at the NFL level. At the cornerback spot, I got Ahmad Gardner, corner 1, far and away. I think he is a clear step ahead of the rest of this class. Tremendous length, tremendous physicality. Put him in a man defensive scheme, let him work. Maybe have him run some cover 3 type looks, but really, if you can get him using his size to his advantage, he's going to just absolutely blow you away. Tremendous corner, tremendous talent. Ahmad Gardner, probably one of the top players in this class for me. I think I have him as number 2 overall. So just absolutely love his game. Can't wait to see what he does at the next level. Derek Stingley Jr. at number 2. I see the vision with him. Look, his play in 2021, his play in 2020 struggled. He wasn't great, but he was still a very dependable player in terms of 2019, and I don't think that goes away. I know there's been some injuries. I know there's been some inconsistencies, but the traits are all there. I assume in the NFL, it'll kind of get shaken to where he is able to contribute and do the job that he's supposed to do as a corner. Don't get me wrong. The risk here is definitely high, but I think Derek Stingley is an absolute stud and should work out. At number 3, I got Jalen Armour Davis. A little bit of a sleeper here. I know a lot of people have, Andrew Booth. I know they have Trent McDuffie, Kyler Gordon, Tariq Woolen maybe, but I'm a huge fan of Armour Davis. I think he is a do-it-all corner, whether you have him in man or zone or press. He can do it all. He moves extremely well. The one game that I think he struggled in was like Cincinnati, and the main reason he struggled was due to injury, not because of his play skill set. Like when he's healthy, he is doing it all, and I think that's going to be the main reason why I'm just sold on him. That well-roundedness to your game, great size, great frame, nice speed, nice length. The question is, he's inexperienced. This was his first year starting for Alabama. What happened that he wasn't starting over guys like Josh Jobe? And, can he, shake that inexperience early enough to contribute right away at the NFL level? Who knows? At number 4, I got Kyla Gordon, cornerback out of Washington. Absolute stud. I really like his game. Gordon and McDuffie are my 4 and 5. The Washington corners just continue to pile up in the NFL. I'm higher on Gordon. I think he's just a beast, well-rounded, kind of Chidobe Awuzie type corner that just can do it all for you. And I'm really excited to see what he can do in the NFL. Now we're talking safeties. And at safety, number 1, free safety, Kyle Hamilton is my guy. I know the speed's a concern, but still, you don't see guys that can do it like this. He's like Harrison Smith to me, and just an absolute beast at the free safety spot. Number 2, free safety, Daxton Hill. Now, here's the thing. I like Daxton Hill, but based on his value, I think I'd prefer the guys that I have here at like 3 and 4 in the later rounds compared to Daxton Hill in the first or early second round. But for Daxton Hill, he's got versatility to play almost any spot. Personally, I think he should be an outside corner at the next level, but I think the NFL is going to disagree with me. I think they're going to want him at free safety or at least a slot corner. He can drop down the slot. He can play free safety. He can play strong safety. He can move all over your secondary, which I think is a tremendous benefit to his game. Still very raw, which I think is promising for him. If you can develop him and make him into a stud, then he's going to contribute at a high level. And, I think for Michigan, he was best suited to play nickel corner because they needed him up there. And he definitely met the expectations and probably blew them away even further for the Wolverines. At free safety number 3, I got Smoke Monday. Physical safety with great size. I really love his game. I think, like I said, if I had to choose Daxton Hill round 1 or Smoke Monday round 4, I'm taking Smoke Monday. I mean, he's just a beast, makes some big plays, can play either safety spot, makes some just tremendous range plays in terms of getting across the field to making a tackle, works downhill extremely well, shows some nice coverage ability. Smoke Monday is going to be a guy that I'm absolutely riding for at this safety class, and I can't wait to see what he does in the NFL. Number 4, J.T. Woods, safety out of Baylor. I think this is someone that Carolina is just going to draft, and he's going to be a day 1 starter for them. They need that free safety. J.T. Woods, physical, flies around the field, long-term starter for the Baylor Bears, highly touted in terms of off-field stuff. Just a respectable guy that seems to be a great team leader. I think he's going to be someone that really contributes in the NFL. He seems slept on. Like, I don't get what it is. He does it all for the Baylor Bears, so I don't know why he's kind of being overlooked. A lot of people have eyes on the Baylor safeties because Jalen Petrie at strong safety is highly touted, but, I think JT Woods should be getting a lot of love and probably more love than he's even gotten close to because, he does it all. Like, I'm going to say a hot take here. I don't think it's a terrible assumption or terrible take to say JT Woods over Jalen Petrie. Now, I don't know if I have either one higher. I don't know. But if you told me I think JT Woods is a better safety than Jalen Petrie, I would not be the person raising my pitchfork at you. And then my number 5 safety is Baron McKinley III out of Oregon. Tremendous range. Definitely disappointed with his speed, but still a guy that can make turnovers left and right. The Ducks absolutely relied on him last season, and he came through. In the NFL level, I expect him to have plenty of success at the free safety spot. And now we move over to strong safety. Nick Cross is one of my favorite guys in the class. I was high on him since the preseason. He's now seeming to be, second, third round guy. Maybe could sneak into that first round. Again, center and safety are the two spots where we kind of see those late bloomers in terms of draft value. Wouldn't be surprised if Nick Cross is a name that we hear in the first round. Lewis Cine at safety 2, probably the safer bet of the safety class to be the first rounder with Kyle Hamilton. I think he is well-rounded, plays up in the box extremely well. Reminds me of Xavier McKinney for the New York Giants, where you can play him at free safety, you can play him at strong safety, you can bring him in the box. He can do it all for you. Lewis Cine, just a tremendous player, and I'm really excited to see what he can do in the NFL. At number 3, I got Jaquan Brisker, safety out of Penn State, makes some great tackles, has some decent coverage instincts as well. He's making plays for Penn State and Nittany Lions. I just recently did my watch of him. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't think he plays free safety, but I think he's still a very aggressive in the box, strong safety, can play split zone, can take some zones over the middle of the field, match up against some receivers as needed. Very good player, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. Number 4, Jalen Petrie. Again, no disrespect to Petrie whenever I said JT Woods might be better, but I do think that Petrie has a lot of promise. Versatile defender, star type that can kind of play all over. If you need him to be the slot corner, if you need to play in the box, he can do it. I'm really excited to see what he does in the next level. I think he's a tremendous fit for the Dallas Cowboys. But the question is, will the Dallas Cowboys bring him in, or are they happy with Jaron Kearse as their safety? And then my strong safety, number 5, Isaiah Polamalu, safety out of USC, nephew of Troy Polamalu. I think this was a guy that was probably going to go in the 3rd, 4th round. Then, there was uncertainty on if he would declare. And it seems like people have just kind of dropped him because of that, because he didn't declare. There was no statement. And then he was just at the USC Pro Day performing and in the draft. So, I think he is someone that is going to go higher than a lot of consensus media has him. I think he has great size. He played both safety spots for USC, probably more of a strong safety in the NFL. But this is someone that I think is going to be a stud. Great run defense, great physicality, great frame, and I'm excited to see what he can do at the next level. I know I keep saying that, sorry, but I like this class. I think it's definitely an exciting one. But yeah, that's my top 5s to each position. Hopefully you guys don't hate me too much for it. We appreciate everyone who checked in today. We appreciate LandryFootball.com. Again, not sure how many more episodes of Destination Draft Day we're going to do. Kind of moving on in terms of just career, but also Landry Football is going on to more podcast format. So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, for now, we're here. We're doing shows. We'll be back Monday with a first-round mock draft. Thank you guys so much, and have a great weekend. Take care.